Welcome to your Biggest Deal podcast with Joseph Williams.
Let's go.
Connecting you with top real estate professionals and entrepreneurs from around the country about the deals, strategies, and motivation that made them successful and will help you reach the next level. This is your Biggest Deal with Joseph Williams.
Henry Washington today really dropped some golden information about taking action and changing your mindset. So not only just real estate focus, but really that mindset shift and becoming an entrepreneur, whatever it is you're doing out there. So take a listen. You're definitely going to learn something. And without further ado, here's Henry. Welcome to the podcast, Henry Washington. It's great to have you today. Making time to educate those in our community is something that is invaluable to us. So thanks for coming. First, we just want to kick it off. Tell us kind of who you are and where you come from and what drives you right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So Henry Washington, again, I'm a real estate investor in the Northwest Arkansas market. I've got about 65 rental doors, been investing for 3.5 years. Man, what drives me? To be honest, man, it's I learned early on that this is more of a people business than a real estate business. And I think the most fun part about this business is the capacity that we as investors have to help the people that we come into contact with. And so, man, we've just had the opportunity to help a ton of people, and whether that help means buying their house or whether that help means paying their mortgage for another month or two so they can stay in their house and figure out something else to do. We've done all of those things, and it's super fulfilling and it's super fun. So what drives me is just like helping others and then growing my business so that our capacity to help grows as well.
Yeah, and that's not something that people initially target or think when they enter real estate. And I mean, just to build off of that, I as well, when I started wholesaling just a little bit to kind of drive my own pipeline of flips, and then I was like wholesaling some deals, and then I was like, man, I'm like a therapist sometimes. Man, I am. I can literally physically see the stress get relieved from people sometimes when I take these properties from them. And now that I'm in it for a couple of years, like wholesaling, and a lot of these properties, as super derelict and hoarder houses or what things that they literally physically can't sell to anybody, and they don't know where to turn. And then you get like messages afterwards, like "thank you," and then in the mainstream media sometimes though, like wholesalers or investors are somewhat trying to be demonetized for targeting people or whatever it might be. But in all reality, the mass of the investors are doing great things for the community, the neighborhoods, and individuals. So it's great to hear you say that, because it's such a big part of it when you really think about it. So this is obviously called Your Biggest Deal Show. So what can you walk us through a deal that impacted you and your family or your business, one that changed your mindset or made you think differently?
Yeah, 100%, man. So we've done a ton of deals, and I would say the deal that was the most impactful, not from a dollars perspective, but from mindset and from leverage. Like, we learned all these lessons, and honestly, it was my very first deal. And so I'll give you a little bit of backstory and then we can jump into it. So prior to me becoming an investor, I was newly married, and so went from single to married fairly quickly. And in my single life, I made great money working for one of these corporate giants, and I also spent a lot of money because I was single and didn't have financial education and didn't really care. Bills were covered, so that's all I was worried about. But then you get married and you have more than just your mouth to feed, right? And I quickly realized that the spending habits that I had and the mindset I had about money wasn't going to fly in the married world.
It's ours now.
Yeah, man. And so for lack of a better term, man, when my wife and I started talking about buying houses or buying our dream home and having kids and all those things, and I just knew I couldn't afford it, and that was terrifying, man. And I had a panic attack one night because I knew I didn't have the money. Matter of fact, the house that we bought right after we got married, I couldn't even be on the loan because my
Yeah.
credit was so bad. So like it was just all bad news, and so yeah, panic attack, freaking out about money, don't know how to take care of my family the way that they want to be taken care of and deserve to be taken care of. And I did what any red-blooded human being does when they have a panic attack about money at 3 in the morning. You start Googling how to make money, and
Yeah. Yeah.
kept finding real articles about real estate and videos about real estate, and ended up seeing this YouTube video from a kid. It was called "How to Design Your Dream Life Through Passive Income," and I was like, "Yep, that's it. I want to do that." Watched this video. This kid was 20 something. He had 20 something doors. He was financially free, and I was like, I'll do that. I can do that. If he can do that, I can do that. And so,
Easy.
yeah. And so I was like, cool. And then I was good. I went back to sleep. I was comfortable. I was like, I didn't have any money and I had bad credit, but I was going to buy a bunch of houses and be financially free, or at least build a decent retirement. So that was my plan. And so when you fast forward, maybe 90 days later, I had done the research and educated myself, and I was all in for this thing. And I was like, I'm buying property. I was telling everybody I was an investor. Hadn't bought a thing, didn't know how to buy a thing, but I was just putting that in the universe because I feel like what you put out is what you get, right? And if I want people to take me seriously, I got to take myself seriously. So I was just telling people I was an investor, and ended up landing my first deal that way. So a buddy of mine was in a tough spot with the house, had to sell it within 30 days because he needed the cash to buy this big piece of property he was going to use for him and his church. And so he had let somebody live in it who was supposed to be able to buy it by the time he needed to sell, and that guy couldn't. And so he was like, I need help. Can you buy it? He was like, this is the money I need to get out of it. If I get this amount of money, I don't care what it's worth. And so he sold it to me at a super discount. So I paid $115 for it. It was worth about $145, right? And so I only had $1,000 saved up, and I needed about 20 to close on it. And so I had less than 30 days to come up with $19,000, right? And so this is why the deal was so impactful for me, because the very first lesson I learned was the mindset of an entrepreneur. And so I was networking with other entrepreneurs as part of my journey to building up to this deal. And so I was bouncing. I was like, hey guys, I need to come up with $19,000. Anybody want to be a lender on this deal? Like, I need this money, right? And I just couldn't come up with it. I couldn't sell enough stuff in my house to come up with 19 grand. Like, I couldn't figure it out. And so I called another investor, a buddy of mine, who is now a business partner, but then was just an investor. And I said, hey man, I told my buddy I'd buy this house and I can't get the money. And I know you're an investor. I know it's a good deal. I know you've got the capital. Like, just can you buy it, right? It'll be a great deal, because he needs help. And I told him I would help him. And so my buddy was like, look, man, it's a great deal. He said, I'll buy it. He said, I would be glad to buy it. He was like, but you need to figure it out. Figure it out. And I was just like, I don't get it. I can't figure it out. He was like, you just don't know enough yet to close on it. You need to go figure out what you're missing so that you have the information you need to close on the deal. And like, I'd never approached problems like that before prior to entrepreneurship. It was always like, I thought through all the things that I know. None of those things worked. Therefore, I can't do this. And that's not how the entrepreneurial mind works. And so he helped me brainstorm over and over again until we came up with the idea of a 401k loan. He asked me, he's like, you have a 401k? And I was like, no, but my wife does. And I was like, but I don't want to take money out of 401k. You got to pay all kinds of taxes and penalties. And I was like, that's not going to work. He's like, no, you could borrow against it. And so I didn't know that. And so I immediately started doing research and found out that we could borrow the down payment money, and we pay yourself back in interest, but it just comes out of your paycheck, and it comes out pre-tax dollars. So it reduces your taxable income. You're paying interest on your payments, but it's your money, so you're paying yourself interest. And then I was able to access the $19,000 that I need to buy the house. And that was my light bulb moment, because right after we bought it, I kept the same guy in there. I just raised his rents to market rents, and that property cash flowed, and it cash flowed enough that the money that I would have normally put in my pocket covered the money that we were paying for the down payment loan, or for the 401k loan. And so it was just like this big, like I went from panicking at 3 in the morning to 90 days later. I took some monopoly money essentially and bought a cash flowing asset that was paying me money every month. And like my mind was just like, I was like, oh, this is more than just a retirement strategy for us. Like, I can use this to stop working soon rather than having to work for the next 20, 30 years and use real estate as a retirement strategy. So that was the mindset shift in so many
The
ways.
light bulb and the mindset.
Because it let me know how powerful. Yeah, because it wasn't like real estate did exactly what I wanted it to do, which was paid me money every month. That's what I was looking for. But what I wasn't expecting was all the other benefits and how easy it was to access the property without having to use your own money. Well, you know, I didn't know about using the 401k. I didn't know like how powerful of a tool it was going to be. And so once I bought that property, it helped me realize that like, yeah, no, I don't, this doesn't need to be a retirement strategy. This needs to be like an everyday strategy.
How can I do this over and over and over again, right? Now, educate me in the our community just a little bit. So I'm familiar with like a self-directed IRA where like you can invest inside of the IRA, but like you actually took a loan from like a company 401k. Now, how long can that loan be out before it has to all be paid back?
So yeah, there's basically a payment schedule.
Oh, so just like a term,
You
just
can
like a
make
mortgage
payments on it until it's like a term. There's a term, and then there's an interest rate, and then that determines what your payments are, and then they split your payments into however many paychecks you get a month, right? And so it comes out of your paycheck automatically pre-taxed. So you don't got to pay it. They just take it.
Got you. Okay, yeah, that is creative.
And then there's no penalties, there's no fees. Now, if you leave that job before it's paid back, you'll have, I think you have like 30 days to pay it back in full, or you can talk with your employer about maintaining a payment schedule still. So there's options for you even then if you end up leaving that job.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a unique one. You don't hear that one every day. You know, I know a lot of the older guys out there, especially in like the real estate meetups that I go to here in Richmond, Virginia. They're doing a lot of their flips and IRAs now because they have plenty of money in all reality. So like they're just doing it in their IRA and that retirement and paying taxes later on, things like that. So it's always great to share financing tips because a lot of people don't realize that half the battle's the financing. If it's coming from you, a private lender, a hard money, a 401k, you got to have money to acquire the deal, no matter what it's in.
So after we were able to purchase the property and raise the rents, we realized that we could do even more with this property to build our business. And so like the numbers were, I bought it for 115. It was worth about 145 the day I bought it, right? And then we raised rents, and so it's cash flowing. And so we essentially had equity in this deal. And I knew now that I wanted to be able to buy more deals, but had the same problem with not having the money. And so because I was networking with other investors, I started to learn about what options there were for leveraging that existing property. And so I was able to go to a small bank and I took out a line of credit against the equity. And so they gave me access to like 85% of the available equity. And then so now I just had this line of credit of like 20 some odd, $30,000. I can't remember exactly how much, but I had this line of credit that I had access to be able to buy more deals. And so like it's hard to explain how mind blowing that is for somebody like who had never done a deal. Like I had no money. I borrowed monopoly money. I bought a property, and then now I had access
more
to
money.
more money to buy more property. Like it was like mind boggling to me. And so we essentially started going all in on marketing at that point to be able to find more off market deals, and had access to be able to buy property. And so as I would find property now, I had money for down payments. And so all I really needed to do was focus on finding good deals, because I knew that if I could find a good deal, I could buy it and rent it and then refinance that property and then get that same down payment money that I borrowed off my line of credit back out of that property and put it back on my line of credit. Or if I bought a property that I was going to flip, I would use that money for a down payment, flip the house, and when I sold it, I get all my money back, pay back my line of credit, and I keep the difference. And so I was able to rinse and repeat the same line of credit money for multiple deals. So that one house, my first house, helped me build my portfolio, right, and helped me build wealth. So I basically used employer 401k money and bank money to build my personal wealth. And that's just that. There's no other investment vehicle that allows you to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very eye-opening experience for you, but for everybody listening, I mean, when you look at real estate as an investment, it's by far the most impactful, most beneficial to your personal wealth. Whether, you got multiple ways that it pays you. You got cash flow. You've got appreciation in the property. You've got the tax benefits, the depreciation of the asset. I mean, and it just goes on and on and on. So, and the more you acquire, the more depreciation you get, the more appreciation, especially in this market we're in right now, the more appreciation you get. So I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, and that's a very eye-opening story that it was your first deal, and it just built off of that. And a lot of that goes to just jumping in, right? Like you had the epiphany that night. You read and you took action. And I preach that a lot, is that you educate yourself to a point, right? And there's ongoing education, but you don't sit down and watch all 400 podcasts from Bigger Pockets. Watch 100 of them. You've got it out there, and then you'll learn doing.
Right.
One deal is worth 10 books, right? I mean, you learn so much in the heat of the moment, going through it. So, that's a great story. So if you had some advice to give to someone that was in your family's same situation, you're looking for more money, what's some advice that you would give to someone trying to model kind of what you've done with the rinse and repeat kind of BRRRR method and credit line method?
Yeah, man. The first thing I would tell people, and it's almost like a disclaimer. So the method that I used to buy that property by borrowing from the 401k, like, it was a great method for me in my financial situation. It was also a great method because I know I was buying a great deal, right? And so it's borrowing from your 401k can be risky. If you buy something that turns out bad and you're upside down, now you got to pay your 401k back and you got to pay this house or loan back, right? And so I'm not saying take out a loan against your house or your 401k and then go buy anything. You need to educate yourself enough to know that you're buying a good deal, right? Because in my situation, I bought that house for $115. It was worth $145. If at any point I decided this isn't the move for me, I don't want this, I could have sold that house for like $125 or $130, right? And been able to unload it, still make a little bit of money, and then give that money back to the 401k. Like, so I minimized and mitigated my risk by buying a good deal. And so what I always tell new investors is there's a million things you can go focus on as a new investor, right? You can go focus on what's your niche going to be. You can go focus on how you're going to find financing, who's going to repair your properties, right? How you're going to close on them. There's all these things you can go do. You need to narrow your focus. Your focus should be, what does a good deal look like in my market? What strategy am I going to employ to find good deals? Those are the two things you could focus on, because everything else doesn't matter until you get deals. Yeah. Right. So, and if you're new and you're worried about the risks of investing, the best mitigation strategy in real estate investing is buying a great deal. Because if you buy it low enough, somebody else will always come buy it off you. Right? If you buy it low enough and your rehab budget goes through the roof, you've got cushion to absorb that. Like, if buying a great deal will absorb your mistakes. So if you focus on what does a good deal look like in my market, and how am I going to find good deals, and you master those things, you'll never have to worry about money again, and you'll always be mitigating your risk.
Yeah, wow, I love that. I love that, Henry. Yeah, I mean, I see people all the time asking questions, even on like Facebook, real estate groups. I saw one the other day. It's kind of the same thing, but it was a wholesaler, and he goes, "Hey, everybody, email me your buying criteria." I commented, "All right, just
Right.
go find a good deal.
Right.
Someone will buy it." Right? Because like the saying is as old as time, right? Like you make your money when you buy, and obviously there's ways you buy something that maybe and you make even more because it
Right.
has an extra lot with it, and you're creative with it, or you turn it into an area. There's a lot of strategies, like you said, but you got to know what's right for you, and finding a good deal is the number one thing you can do. And being prepared to take action, having enough education to take action, and then everything else will fall into place, right? Like you said, like you can go find a contractor, you can, bounce lenders off of one another, do all this. But if you don't have a deal, it doesn't matter. If you call a lender right now and ask and start talking to them, they're gonna say, "Well, what's the deal?" When you get a deal, send it to me, and then we'll talk.
I preach it
So,
over and
so yeah, that's
people.
that's
Well, how am I going to
great
pay?
advice.
Look, bud, if you go find a great deal, call somebody like me. Right? Like if you don't know how you're going to finance it, call somebody.
Yeah,
Somebody's
yeah,
going to
yeah,
pay you
yeah.
for that thing, or somebody will partner
Yeah.
with you on it. It's the money's easy if the deal is right.
Yep, right. And I say a lot too. You have to, and this goes into what you're saying about finding a deal. You got to control your own, deal flow. You got to control your own pipeline, right? So, I mean, you're doing some direct to seller marketing. I mean, and really nowadays that you have to, or you partner with other wholesalers that are doing it, and there's enough meat
Right.
on the bone for everybody. But if you're looking on MLS, they're few and far between, and when you show up, it's like a parade outside. So yeah, you got to control your own deal flow. Now tell us a little bit about what you kind of got going on right now. Like how many units you have? Are you focusing on buying whole rentals? Are you flipping just to generate revenue, or is that something you're always focused on, or what?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So right now we've got 65 doors. Well, I just sold 2 this morning, so I got 63 doors. And the strategy is literally, it hasn't changed. Maybe some of the dynamics inside of my strategy have adjusted a little bit because the market's a little different. And then we had this pandemic that changed a little bit about how we were approaching things. But the core of my business has always been the same. I learned early on from going to real estate investment. I mean, when I first got started, if there were real estate investors in a room, I was in that room, right? Because I wanted to learn all about real estate investing. I wanted to learn who were the most active people, what were they buying, how were they buying it. Like I was just absorbing all this information. And one of the common denominator I kept seeing in all these meetups and all these groups with all these people was everybody was complaining that they couldn't find a deal, or deals were hard to come by, or deals were hard to find. And then I just started to realize like that's just what investors say, no matter what the market's like, no matter it's just. And so I quickly realized that if I could solve that problem, that I would never have a money problem, because I would have a room full of people, no matter where I looked, who wanted to buy good deals. And so I built my business around marketing for great deals. And so yes, if you ask me, I'm going to tell you I'm a buy and hold investor, because that's essentially what I love doing. I like the long-term wealth. But I don't limit my view on deals to just deals that I would buy and hold. If it's a deal, I buy it. I buy deals and I'll close on deals and I still won't know what I plan to do with it. But I know that I bought a great deal, and so I get to choose how I want to exit out of that deal. And so that's why I tell people to focus on finding great deals. Like I got back, I put a house under contract today. I don't know if I'm going to keep it. I don't know if I'm going to sell it, but I know I'll profit either way I go because I bought it right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so like buying it right gives you the flexibility. And so none of that's changed. Like I said, we still market. I still do mostly direct mail. I've got a website. I do Google AdWords. A lot of that's still the same. I'm venturing into some hiring a call center to do some cold calling for me. So it's all still going to be off market, finding deals, but I don't discriminate against what kind of deal. Like as long as it hits my numbers, I'll buy it and I'll figure out how to dispose of it. And then the strategy or long-term goal that I'm looking at is once I hit somewhere close to 100 doors, I'll probably look at what would I net if I sold half, and would that cover paying off the other half? Because 50 free and clear is a whole lot more comfortable and safe than 100 leveraged, and it pays better than 100 leveraged.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're not having the notes, and your cash flow increases drastically with no mortgage payment, and your workload comes down, right? So managing 50 doors is a whole lot better than managing 100 doors. That's 50 less tenants, right? It's just, but it's an a drastic improvement in lifestyle, and then you're recession proof, right? If anything, whatever happens to the market, you're fine. You don't owe anybody. You keep your homes. If you need to lower rent, you lower rent. You know, so
Yeah.
that's my
And I mean, finding the deal with equity and deciding on the exit strategy later is, you know, you're putting yourself in a position to succeed at the end of the day when you're finding the equity the day you put your signature on the paper. Yeah, I've that's something too I've thought about is paying off rentals, and I'm trying to figure out how and when I want to do that. You flipping, you get these big chunks of cash, and I was just going back and forth with my wife. I was like, we have 4 active flips right now, and I was like, we could sell all of these and pay off this triplex, and then that triplex would be $5,000 a month in our pocket. And so it's like, do we want to pay $350,000 to pay this thing off cash and then get $5,000 a month? So there's always decisions that have to be made. Luckily, those are all good decisions, right? You're not being forced into anything.
good problems to have, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, that's some great insight there. So, what you said you were Googling, you watched some podcast, especially that one video you watched that really kind of right before you took action. For someone starting out right now, don't say Bigger Pockets, but everybody knows that one. Is there any other influencers or podcasts or books that you find valuable that might not be in the real estate space? It might even be just about personal relationships, or like you said, talking to people at the beginning, shaking hands is important.
Yeah, I've got so from a podcast perspective, I listen to a lot of Earn Your Leisure, and they don't just talk real estate. They talk a lot. It's more about, mindset, and there's tons of different businesses and ways to generate income, but it's about, they talk a lot about your mindset and about how you should treat money and how you should invest money. And, not everyone is going to just be a real estate investor, and not everyone, or there's going to be people that jump into real estate investing and go, you know what, this is not my thing, right? But that doesn't mean you shouldn't invest, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't grow yourself, or it doesn't mean you shouldn't find another way to, control your own destiny. And so I've learned a ton from that Earn Your Leisure podcast and the different guests they've had in there that have helped my real estate business, because there's a lot of just great business insight as well. As far as books go, I'm a more of a kind of a mindset and like feelings kind of guy. So like the how-to books aren't really my favorite. Like they're cool and all, but I'm more of a like, what's the mindset you need, right? And what, like the more emotional side. And so books that I really enjoyed were things like obviously The Rich Dad Poor Dad, but I really loved The Alchemist, right? Because for me, in The Alchemist, just understanding that if you're doing the things that you're called to do, like then the universe kind of gets out of your way, and if you're forcing it a little too much, then maybe you need to make an adjustment. Because what I started to realize was that once I had set my mind to investing, like the roadblocks that would stop most people didn't seem like big deals to me, because I had made that decision that this was how I was going to be successful, right? The real estate was going to get me there. And it's not that I didn't encounter obstacles. It's just that I didn't let those things stop me, or I didn't even sweat them when they happened, because I was like, yeah, well, let's figure out how to get past that, and we'll move on. But it's all mindset that gets you through those things. So those are why I enjoy those books.
Yeah, that's a good one. Not a lot of people call that out. So the mindset is it's almost like after you educate yourself so much on the real estate space or whatever business you're in, real estate here, you start going towards that mindset, right? It's like, I want to grow. I want to be whatever. I want to get in better shape. I want to, this and that. It's not,
Right.
it's like you're building you in your character, and you're becoming a better person, because you've armed yourself with all the real estate knowledge, and you surrounded yourself with other people that are smarter than you or just as smart in a lot of cases. So you now you have a community you can lean on and talk to, when it comes to that. Right. So you start shifting like mindset and try to grow as a person, and I personally have kind of gone through that as well, where I'm listening to podcasts. Like there's one called The Show, right? John Madsen. He's a like ex NFL player that's now is basically I guess he's not a trainer, but he has like an online platform to help people lose weight and get into the best shape of their life. But he has a podcast that's just about mindset and crushing it and becoming the person. And I heard that early with you too. You said before you even bought your first house, you were going around telling an investor, right? And that's something that I lacked. It took a while for me to actually believe in myself and say, like, I'm a real estate investor. Hey, I'm a real estate investor now. Like I've got 9 units. It took me, I think, 3 triplexes to realize that, hey, like you're dead. Like you flipped whatever. This was me a house last year. You wholesaled 12 deals your first year doing it. Like you're a real estate investor. So I like that. Not only.
What people like you and I, and what people will start to realize as they start doing their research, like there's a point where like you just know the things. Like real estate investing has been around for decades. There's no secret sauce, y'all. Like people have been doing this for years, and yeah, there's different variations of it, but like it's very rare that somebody like you or I will like tune into a podcast and be like, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, never heard that.
We've heard all the strategies at some point. And so like mindset is really where you can kind of grow yourself. Yeah. And so that's kind of why I ventured there.
Yeah, that's a great call out. So that kind of wraps up our show here, Henry. Thanks again for the time you spent with us, some of the golden nuggets that you've let everyone in on. Where can people find out more about you? I see we got the custom hat, the custom shirt. So I know you've got some places for people to go and find out more about Henry Washington.
Yeah, man. The best way to go learn more about me is to check out my Instagram. I'm at the Henry Washington on Instagram. And then from there's a link in my bio, and that link will take you to where you can buy the real estate courses that I've created. It can take you to how to apply for my coaching and mentorship programs, and it can take you to I've got some merchandise, and I've got a free book I just released. So this book right here you can get for free. It's a book on how to finance your deals with little to no money. It's actually one of my courses that I went ahead and converted to a book because some people like to read instead of go through courses. So you can get this for free. Left the link in my bio.
Perfect. Yeah. So hit up the Henry Washington on Instagram, and there's probably I'm assuming a link tree there with access to everything. And this just goes out to everybody. This is a man sitting in front of you today that's actually doing this. He's not some guru living, somewhere else that is a marketing, books in every category that you can think of. Over in a pretty short period of time, 3.5, 4 years, Henry, you've grown to 65 units, and we're not even talking about other deals you've done with flips and things like that. So, go out there, check out his stuff, check out his coaching, mentorship, and learn, and then take action. That's the most important thing you can do is get motivated and take action. And like Henry said, all he had to do video, and that was it. He was an investor. So we thank you again for being with us today, and good luck, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to another amazing episode of Your Biggest Deal. Please like, subscribe, and share with friends. And don't forget to tag Your Biggest Deal on Facebook and Instagram. To connect with Joseph Williams or for questions and feedback, visit yourbiggestdeal.com. Thank you for listening and learning. Now it's time to take action.